Well, what neoliberalism is, I mean, of course, that it being neo, we have to start with the original article, original liberalism. I mean, liberalism is a body of socio-economic thinking developed in the 19th century Europe, especially in Britain and the Netherlands and a few countries, which basically believes that the most important freedom is the freedom of using your property. And everything has to be run according to market principles. And very interestingly, I mean, today liberal sounds great, but in those days, the liberals typically believed that democracy was a bad idea because their view was that if you gave these poor people vote, they'll all vote for income tax and destroy incentive for wealth creation, and that will be the end of civilization as we know it. Yeah? So they were anti-democratic. They also had a very narrow view of the market institutions in the sense that they basically lived in the 18th century world. So they didn't quite realize that you need bankruptcy law, you need limited liability. I mean that Adam Smith was famously against limited liability because he rightly believed that this will give the non-owner managers incentive to abuse their power, which people do. But I mean, we still adopt limited liability because it gives us the ability to mobilize a large-scale investment fund. So I mean that it's not to say that that cost is not there, but the benefit is greater. Paradoxically, the person who saw the greatest potential in limited liability was Karl Marx. I mean, already in the 1860s, when limited liability was a pretty new thing, I mean, he was saying this is the future of capitalism. Only that, in his view, that will lead to socialism, but I mean, that's another story. So they had that kind of view based on 18th, early 19th century world. And of course, I mean, they were completely discredited in the first half of the 20th century through two world wars and the Great Depression and the rise of communism and rise of social democracy in Western Europe. Now, in the 70s, these people have come back as neoliberals. Now, they, of course, had to replumb the system a bit to make it saleable to the late 20th century audience. So they, for example, do not oppose democracy. They would endorse things like limited liability and so on. But it is still at the core the same idea in the sense that what it wants is to maximize the domain of the market where $1, one vote rule dominates. And by arguing that state is inefficient, it's going to destroy incentive for wealth creation and all that, it wants to diminish the domain of the state or the democratic politics so that we live with this $1, one vote rule. So in that sense, it's still the same ideology. I mean, they had to make adjustment on the margin because in the late 20th century, you can sell an ideology that says no, poor people shouldn't vote, but at the core is the same idea as those 19th century ideas. That the most important freedom is freedom of the property. I mean, profit-seeking should be the only motive. I mean, poor people should be punished. So yes, I mean, in that sense, it's a remake of the 19th century ideology, which I frankly is out of date. But I mean, this ideology has been, of course, promoted very aggressively by I mean, a lot of people with a lot of money and power. So the whole world more or less has come to accept this as the truth. And of course, now with the financial crisis. There's some rethinking, but I believe that there's frankly too much money, too much power, and too much intellectual prestige at stake for this to go away quickly.